Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Now, we have snow here in Ohio. Do you have snow in Kentucky?
No snow.
Oh, wow. I thought it looked like y'all were getting snow.
No snow right now. I just took Adam to the airport and there was no snow, but it's cold. I mean, cold. Yesterday, I moved furniture all day long into the new Ashland Keller Williams office that I'm opening and got that all situated. And it was chilly all day.
Yeah, it is a little bit cold for me. I'm ready to get back to Texas because they're having like 60-degree weather. So I'm going home in 2 days. Let's see, I go home Wednesday morning. So I hope the 60s stay there. So you and I said we were going to talk about kind of recap our week because we had a pretty robust week last week.
We did.
So let's kind of kick it off and let's hear what all did you do last week? What was your week like?
Yeah. So I had a crazy week last week. I felt like biggest thing was prepping for our leadership academy that we're going to talk a little bit about today. We have our session number 2 on Tuesday, this coming week, actually the day that this podcast will drop. And so you actually had the original idea of doing the leadership academy, and we'd heard it from somebody else and from another real estate region, and really kind of dove into the importance of just developing leaders and future talent within our world. And so we put together what will be a 9-week session all on developing stronger leaders and building relationships with some of the talent that we are surrounded with in the region.
Yeah, it's interesting because we actually stole the idea from the Southeast region. But, one of our big issues has been for quite a few years now, we just don't have enough people stepping up saying, I want a next opportunity. I want to be a leader. And it's so interesting because really, in all honesty, I'm not saying that isn't happening, because it is, because the truth is some people, not all people, some people look up every 5 to 7 years and say, where's mine?
Right.
Where am I going to get mine? Right. And so what we realized is, if those people are saying that, we don't know who they are, right? And it's never a lack of opportunity. It's a lack of talented people ready to step up for that opportunity. And so I honestly, usually when my fuse runs low, it's because I'm tired. I don't mind solving problems. I just get tired of solving the same problem over and over. And I got sick of every year saying, where's our bench? Where's our bench? Where's the future leadership? Who's saying, where's mine? And so we had heard that Southeast region had done this, and they always do a great job. And by the way, Dana, this is your genius. I mean, you just really shine at this. And I knew you would, but you still blew me away. So phenomenal job. But we just thought, let's pour into our people, first of all, because that's what we should be doing. And then number 2, let's look for those future leaders that are waking up and saying, where's mine, right? And it's interesting because I remember years ago being a top producer, and I never really looked up and said, where's mine? And I don't know that that's the word you actually use, but you do start kind of getting a little bit antsy, and you're just kind of thinking, well, what else? And you're constantly, moving and growing in what you're already doing. And you just kind of look up and say, well, I feel like I'm just kind of a gerbil on a wheel. I'm not going anywhere else. I'm just going around the same wheel over and over. So that part was fun for me to just realize that number 1, we needed to be pouring into our people. And number 2, we needed to be looking for those people who will, and there will be some that wake up and say, where's mine?
Yeah. It was interesting for me when I started looking through and we were kind of thinking, okay, who would we invite to this first one? And it gave me a good aha around leaders kind of rise to the top and show up. When I was going through and we were kind of brainstorming and masterminding, okay, who are the 20 people out of the 4,600 in the region that we really want to invite this first time? And it's funny how certain people just like pop up in your head because they really show up and they engage and they ask questions and they want to grow. And so my aha around that was, I feel like that everybody that was in that room, the one quality that you could say that every person had is they're 100% learning based. Like they just want to keep growing and getting better. And so I know you and I have talked about that so much, but I feel like that's got to be like up there with the top trait when looking for talent. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And, so what I would add to that is if you've got people and you're leading people, remember talent only leaves when they look up and there's no more opportunity, when they say, where's mine? And they can't see it. And so even if you have a small group, you could have a potential leader in there that can take you so much farther. They're the 1%ers, if you will, could take you so much farther, but you might not be able to recognize them if you're not giving opportunities for them to kind of raise their hand or to show up, as you called it. Maybe you're going to miss them and you get a tap on your shoulder one day and they say, look, I really love you and I so appreciate everything you've taught me, and now I'm going to go over here and do what you do because that's where my next opportunity is.
Yeah, totally. I loved one of the things that we opened with is probably one of my favorite videos ever, and it was the Jack Welch video from YouTube. What is the role of a leader? And I love showing that because he always says that the great leaders do three great things. They tell your people where you're going, why you're going there, and what's in it for them. And I've always remembered that ever since the very first time that I watched that video. And I actually, when I was mulling through what the Southeast region did, they showed that video. And I thought, oh my gosh, that would have been one of the ones I would have picked too. But I think it's good to just be reminded of that, because I feel like right now, a lot of people don't know where we're going or where they're going, because we just seem to be like in more unknown times. And I think people are just, they've either had the best year last year that they've ever had in their real estate business, or they didn't, and they had a not great year at all. And so I feel like we've got to remember as leaders, we need to, especially those of us who have teams or run real estate offices or whatever that looks like, that we have to really do our best job to tell people where we're going, why we're going there, and what's in it for them. Because I just think now people are kind of wanting certainty more than ever. And it's just been an uncertain time.
Yeah. And the big aha for me from that, and we can put that link in the show notes, I'm sure, so that they can find it, or they can probably just Google it and find it. But was the third one, what's in it for them? Because I think we don't tend to do that. And again, that ties back to learning how to do what we call in our process when we hire a piece called the future self.
Yeah.
And what I love is when all the pieces come together, Dana, and they validate each other. They don't disintermediate the beliefs you had before. And so, and I found this in my long journey of leadership, is I'm always reminded of the pieces I still don't value as much, or that I've forgotten what value they have. And so when I heard that, I immediately thought of that process that we teach our agents to do when they're hiring people. And that's called your future self. And that's figuring out where those people see themselves, because part of what you would have to do is match up a vision that helps validate to them. And of course, this has to be true. You can't be making it up, but what's in it for them based on what they've told you, that where their future self is, where they see their future self.
Yeah.
And so it just reminds me of the great tools, that if we'll just use the great tools that we have, then literally we will, it's anytime you can drop into a system, it's so much easier than you trying to, catch a bunch of cats that are jumping out of your basket, right? I just follow the system, keeps more cats in my basket, and I don't have to worry, I'm not caught off guard when one of them jumps out of the basket, if you will.
Yep. So true. Yeah. Actually, speaking of tools, maybe you could talk a little bit about the tool we've been using a ton, which we used for this, the impact filter. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I think we've talked about it a little bit before, but never in detail. I loved one of the things that, again, some of this stuff is so hard for us as entrepreneurs, or what we call quick starts on the Colby assessment, because I have it in my head and I just want to go before I take time to think about, how will I know if it's successful? And one of the things I love the most about and the way, an entrepreneur is usually a visionary. The reason they have so many ideas is because they can see things happening in the future.
Right.
And the problem we have with that is we just go sometimes and we don't really bother to say, why is this important? Or we spend a lot of time headed down a path on an idea that if we spent 15 minutes on doing what Dan Sullivan calls an impact filter, and just said, why is this important? What happens if we do it? What happens if we don't do it? What are the success criteria? To me, it actually will actually probably get you a whole lot better result than if you just fire and aim, which is what I love to do, and most entrepreneurs love to do. And so kind of sharing that with them and us starting with that, and you can kind of share a couple of things that you had written down on that impact filter
Yeah.
that needed to have happened when we get through with this leadership academy for us to feel like it's a success.
Yeah. I love on the impact filter. I'll kind of walk down through it. And again, it's from strategic coaching that Linda is a part of. The first part is you talk about your purpose. What do you want to accomplish? And then you move to importance. What's the biggest difference that this will make? So if you do this, what's the importance of it? What will be and the third is moves you to the ideal outcome, which is what does the completed project look like? And then you go and you list as many success criteria as you possibly can, meaning like what has to be true when this project is finished to show that it was a success. And then at the bottom, you list the best result if you do take action, what happens, and then the worst result if you don't take action, what will happen. And I love that because what do you say? You've said this before we talked. People are either motivated by like the scarcity part or the you know what I'm talking about? So like they would look towards they would be motivated by the result, the positive, or the like
some people are motivated by moving towards something, and some people are motivated by moving away from something or a fear of something.
Yes, that's it.
So if you do an impact filter, you're either going to validate your fear of, oh wow, I cannot let this opportunity pass. If I don't get it done, X could happen or X won't happen. And then the same thing is, if I do this, wow, look how cool this outcome is going to be.
Yeah. I wonder if he has both of those on there because there's two different types of people that are motivated.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I think it's covered. Oh, you mean because of that? Oh, could be. Yeah, it could be because guess what? Each person is going to be different on which one motivates them to go ahead and get this idea out into the world and get it implemented.
Yeah, because like I personally look at that and look at if you don't take action, this is what's going to happen. And I'm like, oh, well, we don't want to let that happen. So we better go ahead and take action on it.
You know what? Well, you just, I always like to try all these pieces together. I just wonder if, because I'm motivated by a little bit more by fear also, fear of not getting something accomplished or fear of loss or missed opportunities or whatever. I mean, I say that in most situations, that's the case. And so I wonder if, are you super high on the optimistic, on the KP
I was like a 7 or 8, I think.
Okay. So is that super high? Is that mid to high?
9 is the highest. So I was pretty high. Yeah.
Okay. Because
I was the one that I could, which I think also just with experiences and as you grow and maybe as you get older, I don't know. I feel like now if I took it 5 years later, I feel like maybe it doesn't change. I don't know, but I feel like through experiences, I may be a little bit, because originally it said I was optimistic to the point of that I could miss some important things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, that used to be true for me. Definitely. I could give examples of that all day long, many of them. But now I feel like I pay more attention to that. And maybe it's just because I'm aware of it. I don't know.
Well, you probably had enough things happen that you go, okay, red flag, Dana here. Yeah. Your other person on your other shoulder is going, okay, Dana, remember when this happened and you were super optimistic, but remember when this happened?
Yeah.
And it kind of taps you on the shoulder. That's probably life's experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. Through the Leadership Academy, it was kind of neat though. So we said the purpose was, to develop a 9-week session to build our bench, to help get in better relationship with some of our talented people and to build up their leadership skills. And then some of the success criteria that we said was that we identified 5 candidates for future leadership opportunities from the program. That we told such a great story that we actually developed a waiting list for the second one before it's even launched.
We already have, by the way.
Which we already have
2 people already on it.
Oh, wait, I think I've got 8 now. I had more over the weekend or through the week progressed. Yeah. And also one was that we could develop a playbook that I could just use to repeat over and over and over kind of after we do this first one. And then you kind of walk through the rest, but I love that tool. That tool has made probably one of the biggest differences in the way that I do things, the way that we do things. I just feel like it's an awesome one.
Yeah. Some of my ahas from the meeting was, even though we had people at different stages of their business, a lot of their issues still tend to be the same. One, they don't know where to find leadership training. They really haven't had much leadership training, and yet some of them are leading teams, and some of them work by themselves, and some of them have one assistant or whatever. So just goes to show that we usually learn leadership by trial and error, right? We don't necessarily, seek out that training, even though, we've chosen to build businesses or lead people.
Yeah. That was very interesting for sure. Because we definitely had people from all different stages of their business. I was going back, I was just trying to find a text and I found it is from a leader who went from running really crushing it, becoming a number one agent and team in their state, to then taking on a recent leadership role as a team leader role. And it was funny because what his exact words to me were on our call last week. And then I said, can you send me that in a text? Cause that's so smart. I don't want to forget it. It made so much sense. He said, I went from bored and frustrated from lack of opportunity to grow to now anxious from the unknown and being new to everything again after being so confident for so long. And he said that was one of the biggest reasons why he didn't raise his hand, because he kind of didn't want to be in that spot where he would have to do everything new again. And he said, however, I'm joyful and happy again because I'm growing every single day. And I had just become stagnant in growth. And he said, but also a little stressed because I would never want to let you or anybody else down. But he said, those are like the waves of emotion. So I thought about, isn't that so true?
Oh my God, it's so true. Oh my gosh, it's so true. And I love that. And this wasn't someone at the Leadership Academy, right? This is someone that has stepped into a leadership role.
Yeah, and he wouldn't care if I say it was Greg. I mean, he just said, he'd maxed out at where he was. And so he said he was bored and frustrated because he wanted new opportunity. But he said he was also had the fear of, oh my gosh, I'll have to just start over and learn everything again. And so now he said, that's where he's been. But he said, I'm back to growing again and learning.
Oh, I love it. Oh my God, Dana, you've just made my night, because he just explained my life in so many times. Every time the 4 C's, every time I made a big commitment that I didn't have the credentials for, you drop into that horrible place called courage. Oh my gosh, I love this. This you might have made my night, because a couple of things. I love this because here's the thing. The one thing I noticed in the Leadership Academy is great people who are doing great business don't have any idea to realize that you got to keep watching and look for that next natural door that's trying to open, and have the courage to walk through it. And I love it because one of the texts I got from one of the Academy members was, I'm walking through those doors. And I love that because I know I've watched it give people 10 years of their life back, make them 10 years younger.
Totally.
I've watched it make their lives massively big. All because they did what Greg just explained.
Yeah.
They stepped into something that took so much courage, already had such great success. And now he's back to that stretch me, grow me. Who can I become? What can I accomplish? I love that.
I know. Wow. I do too. As soon as he
said we have to read that at the Academy.
Yes, I will. Yes.
Especially it'll go very well with the opportunity map.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have to add that for Tuesday, because I just thought he just verbalized exactly what so many of us have felt before.
Yeah. And, I think 2 topics that I felt like came up a lot during that Leadership Academy, Dana, was time is an issue for all of us top producers. It's always an issue. And then number 2 was a lot of them in the room, I think, had the feeling that something was wrong with them because they're entrepreneurs and they're always trying to achieve, and people in their life don't necessarily understand that about them.
That was one of my favorite parts when we kind of were masterminding and talking about that. It really was, because when you shared when you emailed Gary Keller and what Gary responded back to you, maybe you could share that real quick right now too. But I felt like everybody in the room was like, that's me. Yes, that's exactly how I am.
Yes. And the story that I always tell is, we just are wired the way we are. And I think we're wired for a reason, right? We're not wired to rewire ourselves. We're wired this way to go out and use the tools and the resources available to add value to the world, to change people's lives. And so how do we get there? What do we need to be doing to get there, right? If you're not feeling like you're not doing that, you're off center, figure out how to get back in that lane, because that's where, to me, the greatest happiness, the greatest success, everything happens. And so in that journey, or at least in my journey, I've had people in my life who are super important to me look at me almost like I got two heads and say, why, Linda, why do you always have to be trying to achieve more? What is, and you begin to feel like something is wrong with you.
Definitely.
And, and there's a great book out there. And if I haven't said this before, even if I have, I want to repeat it, because if you've got small children, you've got big children, put this in your car and listen to it on a trip. It's called Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. And it is phenomenal because it teaches your kids that there was a guy that lived in the land of ordinary who wanted to be somebody, and there were all these naysayers. And it goes on to explain how God put that in that person's heart. But the people that love him the most were some of the naysayers, because they were coming from their fear, and so I always share that story because, no one wants to walk around and feel like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just, my sister is actually the one that, never for a long time didn't understand me, because, and her, she's totally opposite of me. Like, she loves to organize and clean and bake, and not necessarily bake, but cook and take care of people. She's taken care of people her whole life. Thank God, because I was one of those recipients of that at a very young age. But also for her, she wants a schedule. She wants it to start on the same time, end on the same time. She wants her weekends free to not have to think about anything. And I am total opposite of that. And so I always laugh and say, it only took me 2 first-class tickets for her to Hawaii to get her stop asking me, Linda, why you always do what you do? When are you going to when's enough? Or people like that will ask you, when are you going to retire, and all those things. And so I always share that story because I know it has to resonate with someone else. And so one day I sent an email. I was frustrated with a person that I was trying to get them to walk through the next natural door, that I could see so clearly that they had lived their life in such a way that that door would open and it would be a success, and they would be so fulfilled and all those things. And so when I couldn't get him to see that, I reached out to Gary and I said, doesn't it just drive you crazy when someone doesn't get or see what you can see, opportunity for them? And he said, no, Linda, because whether they get it this year or 10 years from now, I'm going to still be doing what I'm doing. And so they'll either get it now or they'll get it 10 years from now. And so that really helped me, because and he said the other thing is, some people are just achievers, and the way you become in life is you get up every day and you try to achieve. And Super Bowls don't win one game and go back to the field house and never do anything again. They go back out there and see who they can become. Yep. And that really, since life is about becoming, the more you get out and try to achieve, and I consider this like John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward, right? The faster you go out and fail, the faster you get on down the road. And so that was very freeing for me, because I realized that's me. I want to always get back out there and see who else I can become. And really my true joy is, more than anything, is the person I've been able to become because of all the things I've tried and all the achievement and all the doors I could see and possibly walk through. So I loved that I saw light bulbs go off, and you did too, from people that really probably had been troubled by that, because people they love and that are different than them don't get that.
Yeah, that was like one of those light bulb moments. You could just see it in everybody, for sure. Well, one of the things I thought we'd share is, for homework, what we did for the attendees in the Leadership Academy was we gave them a little list of a couple questions. And so I wanted to share those and have our listeners think about those too. And the first one was to list the characteristics that you think, which would be the strengths that really define a great leader. So list out the characteristics you think define a great leader. The next one was list out the things or weaknesses that you think prevent a person from being a great leader. So maybe what keeps them from that. One of the things that we talked a lot about was the difference between a leader and a manager. And there's huge difference in that. And then the next couple questions were to make a list of who do you influence today in your world? Who are all the people that you influence? And then who do those people influence in their world? and then really think about what influence means to you and what is the next step that you need to do personally to work on your influence. So I just think if everybody kind of took time and journaled about those or kind of thought them through, they're just really great questions to think about, because we know John Maxwell says that leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. And so we kind of ended on that influence note. And I actually can't wait for Tuesday to get back and hear what some of their answers were to those.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, great format, great opportunity. You gave them lots of great gifts. That was fun part of it. All leadership books that have been influential in mine and your lives
Yep.
in developing us as leaders also. And then why don't you kind of spell out like just a quick glimpse of what we'll do next time with the group, so you can kind of see if someone out there is wanting to put a leadership academy together for their own business or their own team or their church or whatever.
Yeah, so it's a couple different topics throughout the next 8 weeks. So one next is we're going to walk through the opportunity map, and we're going to hear stories from different people who have kind of, I'll use my favorite quote, bloomed where they're planted for that next natural door to open, and that next natural door to open after that. So we're going to walk through what all the different opportunities are within our organization and kind of how you get there. We're going to hear stories of people who've done those. We're going to do case studies one week where we're going to give them some specific examples of challenging times. And we're going to see what they would do if they were the leader in that case, and then have them kind of mastermind around that. We're going to dive into their own personality traits and kind of go through their strengths and weaknesses and different things like that. Not necessarily strength finders, but kind of a little portion around that. We're going to hear from a couple other really great leadership mentors and the lessons that they've learned. I'm trying to think now of each week's topic, and I don't have it in front of me, but lots of great ideas. And I will be building a playbook, so we'll have to get that done over the next several weeks so we can share it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So yeah, great week of leadership. And we also had some other things, and we're going to pick that up in the next week's podcast, because that was just on Tuesday. We did all that. So we still got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. What did we do? Right. So we'll cover that in our next podcast. But I would just encourage you to if you're listening to this, is, who are you leading and what are you doing to develop leaders around you? Because you can't go anywhere else until somebody steps up and says, I'm willing to take your spot. Right. Yep. And I think as a leader, when I think back to how grateful I am that someone helped me see, and I'm pretty self-contained. I'm pretty solopreneur. I can be.
Yeah.
So if I can do leadership, anybody can. Cause I think, some people, think, well, I'm more of a solopreneur or whatever. Yeah, I get that. But the truth is, you may be shocked to find that there's greater joy when you start trying to master the success through leading through people. And we talked about this, we really didn't have challenges in our business till we started trying to lead through people, and just deciding that we're going to master leadership and we're going to master success through people. It's a big step, but it's a huge, huge, huge upside.
Yeah. Wouldn't you say Gary Keller probably is a solo?
Oh gosh. Yes, very much so. I think about, and I am so blessed, because sometimes I think we need to see leaders when they don't look like they were perfect. In other words, I remember the early days when I would watch Gary, and I would actually firsthand listen to some of the mistakes he made with, a hire, or, so many things. And, part of the genius, and I know I've said this before, but part of the genius he had is when he was leading us is, if you were down or discouraged or struggling, he would always have a story similar to your story, but bigger. In other words, because he was so much farther down the path, as a leader, you have to be far enough down the path that when they come to you and they say, God, you wouldn't believe what happened to me this week. I lost my key person. Well, let me tell you about when that happened to me, and it's going to be okay. And let me tell you why. He would share with you a similar example, and it would make you realize, okay, I'm on the right track. Yeah. This is normal. It's not, I've screwed this up so bad, it can't be fixed. This is normal. Right. And so, I think that's one challenge as a leader, is if you choose to, and I remember Mo telling someone in the top 100 group, when the lady said, I've got a really successful real estate business. and it's really pretty big, and I'm just really pretty happy where I'm at. Mo said, well, that's pretty selfish of you. You have a team, right? And the lady said, oh yeah, I have a team. She goes, well, that's pretty selfish of you, right? Because somebody in that group is going to look up and say, hey, where are we going next so that I can get more, get mine. And so I think sometimes as leaders, one, we don't realize how hard it is, and how much actually mastering and working and failing our way forward it will be when we choose to be a leader. And then, I think we also have to realize that it's about influence. And if you say you're a leader and you look up, nobody's following you, you ain't the leader.
Yeah.
You just got it by title only.
Yeah. I love that. So true.
Awesome. Well, any final thoughts on leadership that you would share, Dana, from our event we did this week? And
I think the biggest thing I can think of, honestly, from that is just we all continue to develop our leadership skills every single day. And I think we just have to not compare our insides to other people's outsides, which we say all the time, and it's just to wake up every day and want to get better and be a better leader, no matter where you're at in your leadership journey, because there's so many things that happen. And one day, what does John Maxwell say? We've said it before, but the one thing about being a leader is there's no 2 consecutive good days. And I always laugh every time I hear that, because it's so true. But it's just waking up every day and figuring out how to be a better leader.
Yeah, and how to maneuver to do it. So awesome. All right. Well, I can't wait for Tuesday for our next Leadership Academy, and we'll give you an update as we finish each week of this Leadership Academy and kind of give you a review. So Dana, just want to remind everybody that if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, and also leave us a review. That's how other people hear about the podcast. And we'd love for you in 2021 to be an advocate and pass our podcast along to anyone that you think might benefit from the conversations that we have. And remember, if you have a question or a comment or a guest that you think would be amazing, just reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. Dana, I will talk to you next week.
Okay, I'll see you then.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.